Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be taking a first look here at this Week 17 NFL DraftKings main slate. Let's dive right into it. And like I always do here in these videos, I'm going to go position by position, highlighting the plays that are sticking out to me here early in the week, and then we'll wrap up this video by putting together a first look cash lineup and a first look tournament lineup. But do note in the top left hand corner there, you can see just 8 games on the main slate this week, a bit unique. Usually we're talking about 10, 11, 12 games here on the main slate, but with 2 games on Christmas, our normal Thursday night game, 3 games on Saturday, it's been a bit condensed here for the main slate this week, but again, approaching this video like I always do. With that being said, let's dive into the quarterbacks here. Right at the top, we got Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, both with a questionable tag. I'm leaning towards Jalen Hurts here. I suspect that he is going to play on Sunday against Dallas at home. Obviously, a really good spot there at Dallas defense that we've been picking on all year long, but he is in concussion protocol, so we need to keep an eye on this. The last time he played the Dallas Cowboys back in Week 10, he had close to 32 DraftKings points. So I'm really hoping that he plays here, considering the upside that he'll offer at home against that defense. Now, when it comes to tournament quarterbacks this week, 2 stuck out to me right away here in the 6K range. First being Baker Mayfield, some really easy stacking pieces with Mike Evans and McMillan. We could even mix in a Bucky Irving here if we wanted to as well, but love the matchup at home against that Carolina defense. And then I kind of like this game here between Minnesota and Green Bay. A lot on the line here between these two teams. If we go back to Week 4, this game finished 31-29. Sam Darnold had 3 touchdowns in that game, and I like that he's at home here this week as well. But let's dip here into the 5K range. I do think Anthony Richardson's going to be cash game viable once again. Love the rushing upside he's shown here as of late. Scored a touchdown now in 4 of his last 5 games, 5 total touchdowns when it comes to rushing. His passing upside is whatever. I'm really looking at the rushing upside here in a good matchup against the New York Giants. And then one last quarterback here in the low 5K range. I don't love it, everyone. I do love the matchup here, and honestly, I don't mind how he's played when he started. Now, obviously, he's going to turn the ball over, but I don't care about that when it comes to my DraftKings performances. As long as he's hitting 3x value in my cash lineup or getting me 15 DraftKings points, I'm okay with that, and I think he can do that in this matchup against Jacksonville. If we just look at his last 4 starts here, 21, 18, 16, and 17 DraftKings points. Again, I don't love the player, but kind of like the matchup here. Next, we got the running backs here, and right at the top, we got Saquon Barkley in a really good spot against this Dallas defense. Now, if you look back to Week 10, Saquon didn't play particularly well against this Dallas team. He didn't really need to because the Philadelphia Eagles blew out the Cowboys 34-6, but kind of an outlier game. If we look at his entire game log on the season, this looks like a great bounce-back spot for him. However, again, we need to keep an eye on the Jalen Hurts situation. If Kenny Pickett ends up starting this week, obviously that completely changes the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Jonathan Taylor, after having just that huge miscue back in Week 15, dropping the touchdown, or rather dropping and fumbling the ball right before he entered the end zone, he came back on a revenge game last week. 218 rushing yards, 42 DraftKings points, and honestly, I don't mind the spot there against the New York Giants for him to have another big game. Scrolling down a little bit off of that, I really like Bucky Irving here in this spot against Carolina. If you go back to Week 13, he had 25 rushing attempts, 30 DraftKings points, got back to a full workload last week. He was battling an injury there in Week 14 and 15, but really do like that spot at home for him against that defense. I think Tony Pollard's an interesting play here going up against this Jacksonville defense. His volume is inconsistent, but assuming that the Titans can get out to a lead in this game, I think he could have a decent day. Actually, they just played back here in Week 14, 21 rushing attempts, 102 rushing yards, and a couple of targets in that game as well. I think Aaron Jones here going up against his former team is going to be a fine play, playing indoors. Been really consistent here when it comes to DraftKings scoring, someone who's heavily involved in the passing game, and you always got that chip on your shoulder playing against your former team. And then if we're really desperate here, there's a few plays in the 5K range that I think are okay. They're starting running backs at least. Tyrone Tracy here going up against Indianapolis. He's actually been solid when it comes to DraftKings performances, but he did bang up his ankle injury once again, so he is questionable heading into this game. And then if we're looking for 2 running backs that are going to touch the ball in the 5K range, Alexander Mattison and Keandre Miller playing against one another, I guess I don't mind that on an 8-game slate, but overall, I prefer to spend above the 6K range, at least here for the initial look. Now, when it comes to the wide receiver plays here, I usually break the top plays into two different tiers. So tier 1 this week, in my opinion, is going to be Devontae Adams to Justin Jefferson minus CeeDee Lamb. I think he's more of a tier 2 play going into Philadelphia playing that Eagles defense, which has really started to piece it together as of late. And then tier 2, in my opinion, is Malik Neighbors to CeeDee Lamb minus Devontae Adams. He's a tier 1 play. Now, if I had to just pick 3 wide receivers from tier 1 and tier 2, I'm going with A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, and Brian Thomas Jr. Those are my 3 favorite wide receiver plays at the top here. But let's get into the 5K range because there's some decent value in this range in my opinion. First being here with Devontae Smith. Really good matchup obviously against the Cowboys. I don't know why DraftKings isn't pricing him back up in the 6K range like he should be, but I'll continue to take advantage of it there at 5.8K. I think Adam Thielen here going up against this secondary for the Buccaneers is in a good spot. Actually just played them in Week 13 where he had 24 DraftKings points. And then one other guy here is Kelvin Ridley. Now going back to the idea of stacking him up there with Mason Rudolph, really good spot against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good price tag here at $5,500. More of a tournament play due to the volume inconsistency, but again, considering the matchup, I do like the price there. And then one guy here in the 4K range that is offering some really nice value, both on the cash side and tournament side of things, is going to be Jalen McMillan here. You can see there's 7, 6, and 7 targets in his last 3 games, hitting 17, 18, and 22 DraftKings points. And then when it comes to the tight ends here this week, I would not be afraid to spend up for Brock Bowers or Jonnu Smith. Not going to do that on the cash side of things here, but really like them on the tournament side of things. I also think TJ Hawkinson's in play here. I continue to highlight him in the 4K range, get a $300 discount here from the last 2 weeks. I know he hasn't been great this year coming off of this knee injury, but you can see he offers upside at 21 plus DraftKings points. I'll take that at that price tag there of $4,500. But the 3K range here is offering some decent value this week with Tucker Kraft, Jake Ferguson, and Chigu Okonkwo. I might like Okonkwo the most of those 3, otherwise it's Tucker Kraft for sure. But if you look at his volume here as of late, 6, 4, 10, 11 targets, really like the double digits there in his last 2 games, hitting 14 and 19 DraftKings points. Man, look, if you can give me 8 targets guaranteed at this price, I'll probably lock him into my cash lineup this week. And then when it comes to the defenses here this week, I had 2 stick out to me initially. First being the Philadelphia Eagles playing the Dallas Cowboys at home. They haven't racked up major DraftKings points as of late, and they did give up a 36-burger last week to Washington, but prior to that, they were playing some really good football. 20 points to the LA Rams, 19 to Baltimore, 16 to Carolina, 13 to Pittsburgh. They're playing some really good ball right now, and I like that price of $3,100. If I'm looking to save some money here, I don't mind the Raiders, especially if we're going to see Spencer Rattler start once again for the New Orleans Saints this week. Alright everyone, now let's put together this first look cash lineup here, but actually before we do that, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Every like, comment, and sub that you guys leave really does help me out, and it's completely free to do. Also want to mention here, if you have not joined my Discord channel yet, that is completely free to join as well. There's a link to do so in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment below. Over 860 people in there now, talking multiple different sports for DFS, but primarily NFL and NHL. Let's kick it off here with this first look cash lineup this week. We're going to start at the quarterback position. I'm looking to save some money here right away. Let's go with Anthony Richardson at $5,900. Now when it comes to the running backs, I'm going to look to spend up here right away with Saquon. And let's go with Bucky Irving. Really good spot there against Carolina. Now, when it comes to the wide receivers here, might have to save a little bit of money, but let's go with Brian Thomas Jr. Everyone, look at his numbers as of late. 10, 12, 14, and 13 targets in his last 4 games. 18, 16, 35, and 31 DraftKings points. Let's put him in the cash lineup against that Tennessee defense. Scrolling down a little bit off that, we need to save some money here. Let's go with Adam Thielen here initially, and let's put in McMillan as well to save some money. And then I'm going to have to save money in the 3K range here at the tight end position. So let's go with Okonkwo. And let's put in a defense as well here initially with the Raiders. So $5,500. We could go with someone like Ridley at this point. But then I got 2 Titans in my cash lineup, and I probably don't love that. So let's do a little pivot here. I really would like to get to Anthony Richardson this week, at least here initially. But let's save some money with Mason Rudolph. That gives me $6,400. I could go with Pollard, but that really doesn't make sense. We could go with Aaron Jones there. Again, I'm going to have to figure out that quarterback situation. It just looks so scary putting in Mason Rudolph, although the DraftKings performances and numbers have been there. But for a first look cash lineup, I honestly don't mind this. And then my favorite part of this video here, putting together a first look tournament lineup. Let's kick it off at the quarterback position. What should we do here? Should we do a little Minnesota stack with a Green Bay run back, or do more of a Tampa Bay stack? I kind of like the Tampa Bay side of things here. So let's go with Baker. Let's do a double stack here with Mike Evans and McMillan. We'll save a little money with him here at 4.6K. Let's go to the running back situation here. We talked about the wide receivers and the tight end for the Titans this week. Let's pivot off of that here, go with Tony Pollard. Now let's do a little mini game stack here with Minnesota and Green Bay. So we're going to go with Aaron Jones. And I kind of like the idea of Christian Watson, but then he got hurt last night. So let's put in Romeo Doubs there. Tight end position, we need to save some money, but let's go with the 4K range here. I highlighted Hawkinson. I already got Aaron Jones. Let's go with Kincaid here. Save $200 off of that. Defense, let's just save some money again with the Raiders. $6,400 left over for a flex. Actually, let's pivot up here. Let's go to the Eagles. And then $5,900 for a flex. Let's go with another Eagle here. And Devontae Smith. For a first look tournament lineup, I quite like that. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that.